Hey there, Spyderco Delica 4 follow-up review. Just going to talk about what's good, what I found is not ideal with the knife. I've used this knife since January when I got it, so it's a good 10 months of pretty frequent use. I reckon I carry this about every third knife, or about a third of the time I'd carry a pocket knife, I'd keep this. The others were taken up with other things like the Cadets and the Victorinoxes and the Vulcan Evans and things like that. Other knives that you've seen come through the channel. Of course, the Skeletal probably takes up another third on its own. So I think I've formed a good enough depth of experience with the knife to be able to make a few comments and calls on it. What do I like about it? Let's start from this end and work our way back. So right at the tip, I like the tip. I like how they've put a slight drop on that tip. That makes the tip ever so much stronger. You can kind of start pushing and wedging this in. It's still a fairly thin tip, but it's not as needle-like as, say the Paramilitary 2 is a good example. Like, that's a real needle point tip there. Very, very sharp. Of course, great for utility while it's there, but you must wonder if it's going to eventually bend over or something, whereas that, less likely to. So great tip. The general blade there, the belly is good. You can slice meat, and I particularly find it handy for slicing polypiping for sprinklers and stuff, because you sort of need to, it's quite hard on the outside, even for a really sharp blade. What you need to do is you need to make a little hole and you kind of rock the blade through it, and that belly is really good for that. And then this nice flat portion here is good for shaving things, or I probably did most of the knife's work about here though, because I never use this for bushcraft or wood whittling or anything like that. It's got a great rust-resistant steel, the VG10. You can cut oranges, you can cut dirty outdoorsy things, and I think I've had to polish this back with some very fine sandpaper once or twice just to get some grime and sticky tape crud off it, but it's never shown any signs of rusting. In terms of hardness, I think this VG10 is very similar to the Oz 8 that you find in the SOG Tsunami's Oz 8, Cold Steel Mini Tuffler is AUS 8. Very similar in sort of edge and sliciness to that, but then more rust resistant, so very, very good steel in general. So the Delica 4, going back down the pivot, let's talk about how it opens, I guess. It's a lock back, so it doesn't fly open like your line lock knives will. It's got a D10 on it, so it naturally wants to snap back unless it's past that point there, it wants to snap back. So you're not going to be, it kind of reduces the fiddle factor, like the gadget factor of it a little bit, which I think is important, because lots of our times with the knives, let's be honest here, is just playing with them while we're sitting on the couch watching a movie or something. So there you go. So not as fun probably to use, but then it's got great stability, great blade strength, and there's no rattle whatsoever. This one hasn't developed any up or down. Some line lockbacks rather do. No side to side. It's just rock solid. And lockback is just a classic design that doesn't require any thought to operate. You don't have to explain this to anyone when you give it to them to lend. Moving down, the handle, great handle, super comfortable. Only one way to carry it, there's no choils to choke up. You can do that, but I find there's enough control because of the excellent grip that you don't really need to be doing any finer work. There's cuts where you have to hold it up here. No choking really required. Down there, the pocket clip is good. It sort of fits into the creases of your hand well enough, so it's not uncomfortable. I think the wire clip is better on all counts, apart from that, because the wire clip can dig into your hand when you bear down a bit. Just a tad anyway. So say, I think it's the identical clip to the Paramilitary actually, or very similar anyway, sort of a spoon style. Let's make this spoon style clip there. So there's that, which is good. The clip is fine, it's just average, no worries at all. I don't use the lanyard hole. You can move the clip 4 ways, which is good. The FRN does tend to pick up everything that's in your pocket because it's got all those little micro cubes on it pointing all the different directions. So just from time to time you just want to run this under a hot tap, which you can do because everything's super stainless, and there's lots of, you can't see right through the knife because of the lockback, but it doesn't seem to retain any water or rust or any rubbish like that. So the knife does have some stainless steel liners in there, but they've been milled out a little bit in certain places, so they've got some holes in there, difficult to see, but so that's good as well. Knife carry in the pocket, it's like most Spydercos, it's a little on the wide side, but would it be a Spyderco without the opening hole? Probably not. You probably wouldn't. It just wouldn't seem as nice, I don't think. There's something about it. You pay a bit of space, you pay a bit of real estate to not have it cut off here with the thumb stud, but I don't know, it's sort of it'd be a bit like a K-Bar mini dozier if folding hunter if it wasn't for the spider hole. I think that's kind of how it would feel in hand, which is a fine knife in hand, but yeah, there's a certain niceness to that opening hole, and it does afford a nice thumb ramp having the opening hole there. So, but yeah, it does kind of take up. You want to have your smaller pocket item next to this, so you put this next to your keys rather than next to your phone, because this and then a phone takes up, you know, a fair bit of pocket there. So that is the only other negative really, but that's just Spyderco's in general. If you like Spyderco's, you've made peace with that a long time ago. And the Paramilitary 2 is a little bit wider again, so it's just how much bigger it is actually. We'll put the two on top of each other. So the Paramilitary kind of gets, it's definitely longer, and it's just it goes out a little bit further, probably another couple of millimeters wider as well across the knife. And again, probably a couple of millimeters thicker too along the back. So what I'll be doing, I'll be sort of putting the Delica to rest a little bit and jumping onto the Paramilitary 2, trying to get my head around this. Much more sort of gadgety, fun to play with knife. Much better steel on this as well. The S30V is definitely very sharp, and seems to be staying rather sharp as well, because I've already used it a fair bit. It does scuff up a little easier than the VG10 though. So that's the long-term review of the Spyderco Delica, done and dusted. You'll continue to see this knife on the channel. This is one that I'm not going to sell. I'm going to keep this, and it'll be flanked eventually by a Dragonfly when it arrives in ZDP, sitting about here, so small, medium and large knife. Yeah, so the Spyderco Delica truly is a legendary EDC knife. Isn't a great deal I'd change about it. It is what it is, and if you could find a version with a slightly harder steel, I think you'd almost have all of your needs met. Just the softness kind of makes me pine for a fancier steel, which is why I've gone and ordered myself the Dragonfly in ZDP. You can get this in ZDP or Super Blue powder steel as quite common runs, as in there's plenty of them around, but it's also been done in other steels as well by Spyderco. You can get it in a saber grind as well, but I'd stick with the flat because the flat is just very, very slicey and nice. And you can get it in fully spider edged as well, like serrated, but not for me. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed this little follow-up, and I'd wholeheartedly recommend a Delica if you can find one for about $100, $110. Try AussieKnives.com for a few different colours. See you guys.